Hello everyone and welcome back to TowerGate. It is TowerGate day number 1271, 1271, October the 29th, 2020, Thursday. Thank you so much for tuning in. Okay, so I'm sure that most of you, if not all of you, saw that interview last night with Tony Bobulinski on Tucker Carlson. And Tucker Carlson did a great job on the interview. He allowed Bobulinski to really talk and explain. Tucker asked very good questions, kept the interview on track, kept it moving. He asked just about every question I would want to ask. If he had time, there was probably a few more questions, but I have no problem with the interview. Tucker Carlson did an excellent job. The interview itself was absolutely devastating. Absolutely devastating. And then, of course, that morning, yesterday morning, we had some more of these photos dropped, which I think were coming from this lewd.com Chinese billionaire in Southeast Asia. Two more photos. This one showing Hunter Biden standing up with like a robe on, and he's naked. Of course, they blotch out the private areas. There's another photo that we haven't been able to see, but we have a description of it, which is Hunter Biden in bed with what appears to be a minor female, and they're engaging in drug use. We have all these other photos of Hunter Biden. We had the one from about last week where he's snorting crack off of a black prostitute's ass, which I guess, snorting whatever you're snorting off a black woman's ass is it's not the black woman's ass, it's what you're snorting off the black woman's ass that's the problem. And but after the Bobulinski interview and the photos that have been leaked over the past week, along with email conversations, we literally have email conversations where the Biden's daughter-in-law, the widow of Beau Biden, Joe Biden's oldest son, you have his widow communicating to Joe and Jill Biden that if Hunter comes around her daughter again, this 14-year-old girl, which Hunter apparently is doing FaceTimes with or something, maybe doing other things, I don't know. But she's telling Joe and Jill Biden that if your son Hunter comes around my daughter anymore, I'm going to call the cops. And she's describing what he does, which is sending, I guess, having FaceTime. I don't know what that is. It's obviously some sort of a video exchange or exchanging video. And he likes to, send this 14-year-old niece of his pics of him naked smoking crack. And so the Bidens are being told by their late son's widow, if Hunter comes around here again, I'm going to call the cops. You better tell him. So Joe and Jill Biden know that Hunter is, doing some things with his niece. They know he's not clean from drugs, because that's all being explained to them. But we have Joe Biden saying he kicked it, he beat it, he went to rehab. No, he went to rehab 6 times, and he was very unhappy that he was forced to go. And no, he's still obviously a drug addict, and apparently a sex addict. Then we get this other story, about Joe Biden's daughter. Yes, that's right, he's got a daughter, and she's apparently like 40-something, early 40s. And we start hearing this story about her, that she's got this diary. She's been keeping a diary for all these years. And she also has been in and out of drug rehab. She also has a sex addiction problem. She's discussing with a friend or someone about these conversations she's having with her shrink, where they're trying to figure out where her sex addiction comes from. And she then brings up the fact that maybe it comes from these feelings that she had because her father, Joe Biden, had her taking showers with him even when she was an adolescent. And there may have been some inappropriate things going on at the time. I mean, on top of the Bobulinski interview, he literally lays out the evidence right there. But if it were you or me or anyone we know, if we weren't the kid of a famous politician or someone like that, and we dropped off a laptop to have it repaired, and the guy discovered all this type of criminal activity on it, I can assure you, any of us, we'd have the cops knocking on the door, or probably kicking the door in, cuffing us and taking us away. I mean, they take, around here where I live, I mean, you get caught doing anything like that with like a minor, I mean, they don't wait around. As soon as they get the evidence, they go directly to a judge. They get a subpoena. They get what they need. They get a warrant. They come and they get you. They come and they get you. They take you away. And here we have photographic evidence, pics. We have emails that back up what the pics are relating to. Tons of corroborating evidence. Yet, Hunter Biden walks around free as a bird. And the Bidens know what he's up to. And then you get Bobulinski, who corroborates everything that's on the Hunter Biden MacBooks. I mean, there's every bit of evidence in the world. If this was any of us, we would be, us and our entire family who were involved in this family crime, whatever you want to call it, this crime spree. Any of us, for the sex stuff, with the minors, the drug stuff, the corruption stuff, we would all be, in jail, charged with major felonies. But if you're connected to powerful Democrats, now if you're a Republican, you'd probably be toast. If this were Trump or Trump's family or Trump's kids, can you imagine if they had Don Jr. smoking crack with a minor? I mean, they would come and lock him up. Yet, Attorney General Barr told us in his hearings that he was really concerned about equal justice under the law. And then we find out that the FBI has had this computer since December of 2019, almost a year ago. They know every bit of this. And it doesn't appear, listening to Mr. Bobulinski and his description of the other people, the other three principals involved, that any of them has ever even been questioned by the FBI to corroborate what's on the computers. They've been sitting on it. Why do you think they've been doing that? I can only think of two reasons. One, because they're covering up for, a powerful political family who just happens to be Democrats. Or two, they're collecting this information so that they, the deep state, can use that against Biden should he become president. To manipulate him or extort him or whatever, blackmail him. And that's an even scarier thought. I mean, it's horribly maddening and frustrating to think that they would cover all this up while at the same time, they're covering up the actual evidence of all this stuff, while at the same time they're pursuing criminal charges against Trump, including impeachment and everything else, based on what they know is false allegations. These things are happening simultaneously. They're sitting on the Biden information while they're allowing the impeachment to go forward after just finishing up an attempt at trying to take the president out in the Mueller coup. After working to try to keep him from being elected in the first place, running the Steele dossier. The information that we now know that Brennan briefed Obama on in July of 2016, that the Russians knew that it was Hillary Clinton putting together this plot to tie Trump to Russia with Putin and WikiLeaks to distract from her email investigation. All these things are happening at the same time, within the same period of time. That's how bad it is. And as bad as that is, the thought that the deep state would be using this type of information to conceivably blackmail or extort a future president, that's even scarier. This is the kind of stuff that J. Edgar Hoover did. Collect files on people. Every politician in Washington, he had files on all of them. And when he needed to, he would extort them. He wanted to be FBI director for life. And whenever there was any politician or anyone in a president's cabinet who suggested, well, that Hoover, we might want to move Hoover along and get our own FBI director. Oh, yeah, really? Boom. Out would come the vanilla folder with the photos. So Hoover did it as a way to make sure that he could never be taken out, of power. But he also did it probably for other reasons. And we don't know what the insidious reasons are, or even if that is what was happening. Maybe it's just they were covering up for Biden because they're hardcore anti-Trumpers, part of the deep state. Biden's part of the deep state. And if you take down Biden, you have to also remember, if you take down Biden for this type of activity, you're not just taking down Biden. You're taking down a lot of other people. There's a lot of people involved in this. And obviously, the Bidens are not the only political crime family that's doing this type of stuff. It's probably 50%, maybe more, of politicians in Washington that are involved in these types of activities. Just that the Bidens are just a little more, I'd say, careless than most. I don't know. I think my camera's a little crooked. Let me straighten this up. Let's see how this works. A little better. Yeah, it must have got knocked out of place. There you go. I'm like looking at it like this. I'm like, you guys are probably sitting there at home going, damn, I think Mike's leaning today. No, I'm not leaning. It's my camera. Now you can sit up straight. Everything's fine now. We'll be all right. Must have hit it with my arm or something. So here we have the DOJ and the FBI doing nothing. We have the corporate media ignoring everything. And we have social media suppressing it. It's the trifecta. And it's a level of corruption we simply cannot have and maintain our status as a constitutional republic. This is the end of the republic. If this stuff cannot be dealt with, if the people who went after Trump in the coup are going to walk away scot-free and face no charges, if Biden's crime family and others like them are able to do this kind of stuff right in your face, here the evidence is dropped right in your lap. The FBI literally has the evidence dropped right in their lap. And they do nothing. Somebody needs to answer some questions. I haven't heard a peep out of Attorney General Barr. I haven't heard a peep out of Christopher No Shit Sherlock Ray. And it's, here we are about a week before the election. And they're actually going to allow Biden to continue to stand as a candidate. He should be disqualified. He should have been disqualified as soon as the FBI got this computer. They should have immediately contacted all the people in the email chain, verified that this stuff was legit. Once they did, they should have moved on it. At the very least, when Biden announced he was going to run for president, they should have sent a couple people over and said, by the way, you probably don't want to do that. Yeah, because we got this stuff from your son's computer. It's a problem. It's a real big problem. Now, we're willing to just let it go. But if you run for president, we can't promise you this is not going to come out. Might be best just to retire, Joe. Nope. These people are so bold and so brash, so arrogant, that, they have to know. If you're the guys in the FBI that know all about this computer, and I don't know how high up it went, I don't know if Ray knew, I don't know if Barr knew, but if they did, they should both be arrested. At the very least, fired immediately. If I'm Trump, I got these guys in my office tomorrow morning. Did you know? Did you know about this computer? Did you know Barr? Did you know Ray? If you did, you're fired. Resign right now if you knew. I'm going to find out. And I'm going to prosecute you if you knew. It's covering up a crime. That's a crime. It's called obstruction. But it is absolutely mind-boggling. It's devastating. It's every word you can. It's sickening. It's mind-boggling. You come up with the term that you want to use. Whatever makes you feel good. It's beyond anything I've ever seen. Way worse than anything I ever could have imagined. And it's like living in a parallel reality. In a surreal world. It really is. There really is. We hear this phrase thrown about a lot. There really is two different systems of justice. I mean, there's a system of justice for people who are not in favor with the ruling elite, and there are the rest of us. You know, there's the ruling elite and everybody else. And if you're the everybody else, like all of us, you know, they'll destroy your life. Underpay your taxes, they'll destroy your life. Make a mistake, have a few too many drinks, hit somebody, cause some injury, your life's ruined. Both civil court, criminal court, your life's ruined. I mean, so many ways that you can entirely F up your life and never catch a break. Unless, of course, you're part of the ruling elite. Then you can do whatever you want. Sex with minors, do it on tape. Take drugs on tape. Go ahead, snort that crack off that black prostitute's ass and put it on video. No problem. Ain't nothing gonna happen. You can go ahead and be extorted by the Chinese. You can be targeted by the Chinese intelligence and actually be captured in the process and completely, owned by the Chinese, the Russians, and everyone else. No problem. That's no problem. But if you're Don Jr. and you sat down and had a meeting with a Russian lawyer who promised you a little dirt on Hillary, oh man, that's you're going to jail. It's got to stop. This can't continue. But let's go ahead and move on because time is ticking. I assume most of you saw the interview. If you did not, you absolutely must watch. I'm sure it's YouTube by now. You must watch the Tucker Carlson interview with Tony Bobulinski. It is absolutely devastating. So watch it. I did. That's what I did last night. Instead of making a video, I watched Tucker Carlson. There wasn't much to talk about yesterday anyway. Now there is. Now, here's just a couple of major things that were dropped by Mr. Bobulinski, who, by the way, is very credible. First of all, I thought it was very interesting that Bobulinski says what motivated him. Really two things, but the major thing that motivated him to want to come forward is when he saw the bug-eyed fool Adam Schiff on CNN smearing him as being part of a Russian disinformation campaign. That infuriated Bobulinski, Adam the bug-eyed fool. And so he makes a phone call. And he calls this other guy, I forget his name, Walker. Calls this guy Walker, who's kind of a representative, kind of intermediary between the business dealings of the Bidens and Bobulinski. And he calls him and says, hey man, you need to call your people. And I think he's talking about Joe Biden or Hunter Biden, whoever. You need to call your people and tell them that Congressman Schiff, he needs to go back on TV and he needs to walk back what he said associating me with being part of some Russian disinformation. He needs to get on TV, he needs to walk that back, or I'm going to drop everything. And this guy Walker essentially gives Bobulinski I don't think I can make that happen. At which point this guy Walker, Bobulinski says, if you don't make that happen, I'm going to drop everything. And this guy Walker then says, well, you're going to bury all of us, man. You're going to bury all of us, man. And Tucker plays the audio clip of that phone call. It's right there. It's in the audio. It's a phone call. You get to listen to it. Bobulinski calls this guy Walker and says, hey, you better tell your people, the Bidens, that they better call their friend Schiff getting back on TV and tell him to walk back what he said about, associating me with Russian disinformation, or I'm going to drop everything. And then the Walker guy says, oh man, I don't know if make that happen. That's just, I don't know if we can do that or whatever. And Bobulinski says, well, you better figure it out. Otherwise, I'm going to drop everything. And then Walker says, well, you're going to bury us all, man. Bury us all. So I thought that was interesting. It was the bug-eyed fool Adam Schiff going on CNN and spreading more of his lies is what instigated and really got Bobulinski, along with the fact that Bobulinski also, when Senator Johnson's report came out and he found out about that $5 million, or actually $10 million money that was moved around him and his other partners, basically cutting them out of the deal, essentially, that pissed him off as well. And that resulted in him writing a letter. He also called Jim Biden. And Jim Biden told him to F off. That's how arrogant these people are. So then Bobulinski asked Jim Biden. He's sitting there saying, man, you guys are involved in all this kind of stuff. How are you getting away with all this? How are you getting away with all the stuff that you're doing? And he says, I know that, Joe Biden's not running for president this time. It's 2016, but, he may run for some future office, or some other Biden may run. Aren't you worried about, this stuff, getting out and being in the headlines or something? And he's talking to Jim Biden, Joe Biden's brother. And Jim Biden, he says, smiles at him and said, nope, plausible deniability. Plausible deniability. Now, some of you who are old enough to remember, like me, the early 90s, that's when that term first became fashionable. And it came out around the Clintons, because the Clintons, when they entered office in 92, they were under multiple investigations over Whitewater, Castle Grande, Bill Clinton's affairs, his supposedly having links to some drug cartels, and just all kinds of, people around him being involved in the big cocaine trade, and just a lot of things going on around the Clintons back then. And that was the term that they would use, and their surrogates would use, and their lawyers would use to explain the Clintons' innocence. They have plausible deniability. So that's likely where the Bidens learned how to do this kind of stuff, is from the Clintons. And they certainly got that term plausible deniability from Slick Willie himself. So there you go. That certainly rung my bell. Brought back a bad memory. Mr. Bobulinski says that the Bidens were compromised by communist China. He says that Joe Biden did have firsthand knowledge of corrupt business dealings with China, and yes, Joe was being compensated for it. And of course, he goes on to explain to Tucker how he met with Joe Biden multiple times. And he even details one really specific meeting where they discussed pretty much in detail the overall general nature of the Biden business. First with Joe Biden, then after he leaves, he goes and discusses for another 2 hours with Jim Biden, where he lays out the parameters of how things work when you're working with the Biden crime family. Bobulinski also tells Tucker Carlson that yes, since he came out, he has received death threats. He has hired a team of retired Navy SEALs to protect his home and his family, and he is currently not staying at home. He's just traveling, staying on the move. He talks about where, in one case, he was trying to set up Bobulinski was trying to set up some standard protocols that you do in business to prevent any situation which could result in legal liability having to do with unethical or illegal activities. It's called corporate governance guide rails. Corporate governance guide rails. And he wanted to set these up, as he typically does with these companies he sets up. And Joe Biden blocked it. Joe Biden blocked it. We also have emails talking about Hunter where he did not want to register as a foreign agent. And as a result of that email, we are now hearing that the Senate is investigating Hunter Biden for failing to register as a foreign agent. Well, yeah, you're all over it. First of all, the Senate can't do a damn thing. They can't do a damn thing. FARA violations is what they eventually went after all of Trump's people for. Flynn, Papadopoulos, Carter Page, those are all FARA investigations. Yet, they know all about Hunter Biden and the Bidens. No FARA investigations there. He says that Hunter and Jim Biden's only qualifications were their family name. Bobulinski also says that in that conversation with Joe Biden, that Joe told him to keep an eye on Hunter and James. So basically, it's 100% at this point, Biden is lying. Every time he opens his mouth and says, no, I didn't know about what Hunter's business dealings, he's lying. He didn't receive any money, he's lying. Hunter didn't receive any money, he's lying. He's lying about everything. Yeah, Hunter had some drug issues. He's gotten over. No, he hasn't. You're lying. He's still a drug addict, and now we know a sex addict, and he prefers minors. Oh, and your daughter's also a sex addict as well. Likely caused because of showers she took with you, Joe, when she was an adolescent. So yes, Christopher Nosh, Sherlock Ray, and Attorney General Barr have some serious questions to answer, some serious explaining to do. Now, I don't know how to analyze this any other way. I mean, you have to watch the video for yourself. You have to look at these emails. Stuff's all coming out every day. These pics are dropping from this Chinese, this lewd.com, this Chinese billionaire. He's dropping these pics almost every day, you know, that are, I mean, evidence, hard evidence of criminal activity, serious criminal activity by Hunter Biden. He says he's got 10,000 more. I mean, I just don't know what more to say. I mean, it's like nothing I've ever seen before. Nothing I've ever seen before. Normally, when you get these types of scandals, you know they're there, but the evidence is protected. It's covered up. You never get to see it. Here, the evidence has actually made it to the surface. We're seeing it. It's being released every day. It's right in front of our faces. Yet, nothing happens. I don't know the word to use. I really don't. Perhaps one of you can come up with a word, because I'm out of words to explain what this is. It's take your pick, man. Now I want to talk about one other thing that happened about a week ago that's kind of flown under the radar. Trump signed an executive order about a week ago that will give him more leeway in hiring and firing federal employees. This will be employees who deal with confidential information, policy making, policy determining, or policy advocating. Things that, and these are the type of federal employees that typically do not change during a presidential transition. So this will give Trump the ability to hire and fire and have a lot more leeway in the hiring and firing of federal employees. You know, the people in the deep state, which tells you Trump is preparing after his re-election to clean the house. He's going to clean house. And I hope he starts with Barr and Ray and Haspel on day one. And I also hear that Mike Esper might be on the bubble as well. In fact, Solomon, which means Mark Meadows, because Mark Meadows is the source for John Solomon, said that people in Trump, around Trump, close to Trump, have been urging him, yeah, we got to get rid of these people. These people are bad news, man. We got to get rid of all of them. We got to clean the house. Trump wanted to do it before the election, but he was advised by political people around him, no, wait till after the election. So, and this is not a secret. This has been going around the rumor mill that Trump is going to clean house. And so he's already signed the executive order that will allow him, after the election, to start making sweeping changes, removing people, bringing new people in. He's going to start draining the swamp. And again, the first three people he needs to drain out of that swamp are Barr, Ray, and Haspel. And then he needs to appoint a presidential commission and get to the bottom of things. Now, the only thing this does not give him the ability to do is to remove SES people, secret executive or senior executive service people. They cannot be removed. Now, some people on the left are claiming he did this to get rid of Fauci, because Fauci is not SES, but he is a senior government federal employee, the type who could be fired as a result of this executive order. But I don't think he'll fire Fauci. I don't think he's going after Fauci at all. I think it's other people, to be honest with you. But now people like Luce Lisa Page and Peter's been stroking us and Andy McCabe and Priestep and all those guys, they're all SES. So he couldn't just like fire them. They've already quit or been fired for other reasons. And of course, this doesn't give him any prosecutorial authority. It just allows him to get people out and get them in much quicker. Before, it took a huge process, lengthy process, to get rid of a federal employee. This allows him to very quickly get rid of a federal employee and replace him with someone else. So this tells you that Trump is looking into draining the swamp immediately after his reelection. We also have this story that came out today, along with all these court challenges that are happening. The Dems, the Demo commies, are already talking about having a plot to impeach Amy Coney Barrett if she does not recuse herself in any cases regarding the election. Now, that's going nowhere, by the way. It just shows how crazy they are. And, finally, before I end this video, I know there's a lot of very nervous people out there. You keep seeing these crazy polls. One came out yesterday, Biden up 17 in Wisconsin, up 8.3 in Pennsylvania. This is total bullshit. Don't believe it. Total lies. What's going on here? What's going on here is that they are setting up to delegitimize Trump's reelection. They know they're not going to beat Trump. They know they're going to lose. So what they're going to do is delegitimize him. And the way they're going to do that is they're going to take his presidency. If they can make it work the next 4 years of his second term, they're going to try to keep him in court battling over the election to delegitimize him. So they're putting out all these fake polls so that they can get all these millions of people across the country, anti-Trumpers and people, Democrats and whatever, to believe that there's no way Trump can win. No way. The polls tell us so. And then when Trump wins, then they're all going to say, well, Trump must have cheated. They must have rigged the election because all the polls said he was going to lose. The polls can't be wrong. Therefore, Trump must have cheated. And then they'll want to riot. They'll want to go crazy. And they'll want to say that he's not a legitimate president. Cases will go to court. They'll be battled for months and months and months. They'll eventually make it to the Supreme Court. All kinds of fights will be had. But in the meantime, chaos will be going on, and they will initiate a narrative which is that Trump is illegitimate, which means everything he tries to do, they'll try to delegitimize. And this is sad that we have to go through this. And this is why Trump has to drain the swamp, get rid of Barr, get rid of Wray, get rid of Haspel, and bring in some serious people who will prosecute the crimes. And all of these are crimes as well. But I know there's a lot of anxiety out there. We're 6 days away from the vote. And my poor sister, she texts me probably 2-3 times a day. She's a basket case. She's terrified that Trump's going to lose. And I keep telling her and telling her and telling her Trump's not going to lose. He's going to win, and he's going to win big. Stop listening to your TV. Turn it off. Stop listening to these polls. They're wrong. These are not real polls. These are fake polls. It's an op, if you will. Psychological operation. But, she continues to, she's like, oh, I just want this thing to be over. I just want this to be over. I'm like, Terry, stop freaking out. I mean, please, just get some sleep. Don't worry about it. Trump's going to win. He's going to win in a landslide, and he is. But once he does win, they're going to try to delegitimize his second term, and it's going to be exactly what it was in the first term, constant lawsuits, impeachment, this and that, the other thing, you can name it. That's why Trump has to drain the swamp. And I mean seriously drain the swamp. Bring in some serious people who will throw these people in jail. All of them. So there you go, my friends. Keep the faith. Make sure you go vote. Don't listen to the polls. They're fake. I'll be back as soon as there's news to report. See ya. Bye.